Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I am in New York at iConnections Global Alts. Let me tell you, we've been covering iConnections for a couple of years now, and it's one of my favorite events. My next guest is Matei. Matei, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so iConnections, we're in New York. What brings you out today?
The free food, I heard there's going to be some good stuff here. That and meeting with a bunch of investors.
Yeah. Tell me about Systems 2.
So my background is I started off in investment banking. Then I joined a hedge fund called King Streets, and about 10 years ago started the company started System 2. And we work with fundamental investors to help them incorporate data and AI into that investment process. So taking the human edge and trying to automate parts of that using AI, as well as being able to go down rabbit holes. Like our investors love to ask tons of questions. They're endlessly curious. And the more data that you can give them, the more answers you can give them to their questions, the more questions that pop up. And it's this never-ending game of trying to understand the companies as much as possible. And we're there to satisfy that curiosity.
How'd you get into this business?
So I was doing some version of this at the hedge fund. It started when the founder, this is like a $20 billion fund. This is probably like 15 years ago. The founder came to a group of us asking, he's like, oh, I keep hearing about big data. What can we do with big data? We had just the fact that he was using those buzzwords meant to me that he really didn't know what he wanted. And at the same time, it was awesome because like I had a vision of what I wanted that to be. And I felt like I had the permission to take this in whatever ways. I'm seeing a lot of similarities to today with AI, where founders are like, oh, I want to do AI. They don't really know what that means. But if you have somebody on the team who has a vision or has a lot of curiosity around it, then you can, that's what happened to me. I ended up like unleashing that curiosity and led down this path where I ultimately started my own company to explore it further. So it came out of a hedge fund and decided that I wanted to be my own man.
Where'd the name come from? System 2. Gotta ask.
So it's based off of the behavioral psychology, the behavioral economics work of Daniel Kahneman, where he talks in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. System 1 is the gut feeling, when you just feel in your gut and you make decisions based off of that, whereas System 2 is the slower, more rational part of the brain, where oh, let's take a step back, let's look at the data, let's think a little bit more holistically about this. So we want it to be that System 2, that slower thinking version that complements the gut intuition of a lot of our investors' clients.
What are the right fit to be clients of yours? Like, so I know you're at iConnections and taking meetings, lots of different people. Like, what's typically a correct fit?
Yeah, so we work with fundamental hedge funds. Our smallest client is about $2 billion in AUM. And so it's for funds that have relatively concentrated portfolios. They want to understand as much as possible about their investments. And they want to get the expertise of some technical nerds that can help answer that. And in terms of sectors, I mean, it's everything. We work with long, short equity funds, credit funds, crossover funds. We also work with some of the largest allocators. And but the commonality is people that have humans in the loop. They're curious about the companies that they're looking to invest in, and we go out there and try to get them answers leveraging data, not just saying, I'm going to talk to a couple of experts and give you a report. We're actually going to try to find some data to support or invalidate your hypothesis.
And how long has this been around, System 2?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, I know. I don't look that old.
Not at all. But you started pretty early, like on this whole, like you were, I would argue, ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff. Even the conversations, like what was that like trying to propose that direction like back then versus now? Because now it's everything you said, I think everybody's going to probably track with it and say like, okay, that makes sense. Do we need it? But like when you started, I'm guessing you were educating a lot of people.
That's a great question. It was definitely a lot harder. We were very, very early in this, and the whole like human plus machine way of investing. And at first, like I remember this, the first check that we got was for $5,000, where a hedge fund paid to have us, like me and my co-founder, come in and give them a lunchtime presentation around what they can do with data. And so it's more of a curiosity. Like, oh, let's bring these, like the freak show of the nerds in to see what's going on. But we got meetings with like Howard Marks, like all sorts of like very famous investors who were just curious about what was happening, and we basically get paid to come in and speak. Obviously, we weren't trying to. I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker. Right. I was trying to get actual engagements of doing the nerdy data work. But that's how it started. So it was a lot of educating this. But fast forward to today. We, in some ways, like there are pros and cons to starting early. But now one of the good things that this market already exists.
And you've been having the conversations with the same people for,
exactly
10 years in.
And we have the track record and the trust that we've built with these investors. And many of our investors are doing cutting edge things, like leading the rounds in Anthropic and OpenAI, and investing in all sorts of interesting, like we're sort of like the behind the scenes company that's been involved in some of the most complex investments over the past decade. Where, and it's like, like I can talk about some of these things now, like things like even like GameStop back in the COVID craze. We were doing work on that name for one of the funds that ended up being in the news about it. And so there's tons of these examples where we're trying to keep our heads down, answer their questions, and ultimately now, like, usher in this age of AI. Like, what does that mean for a fundamental investor when the whole world is changing and some of them want to change along with it?
So we're recording this. I'll do the timestamp on this. So we're recording this in June 2026.
Yes.
What excites you right now? It could be in the market overall. It could be technology, whatever you want. What excites you? What gets you motivated right now?
I mean, so we've been thinking a lot about the future of AI and what that means for investing and what kind of companies that people want to invest in. And one of the things that I found helpful is thinking through like the limit. What happens if we take this all the way to the extreme? Granted, it's not going to get there, and it might take longer to get there than we assume. But let's just start there and work backwards. So in particular, one of the things that I've been interested in is what happens if the value of human labor goes to zero. How does that change the world?
That's a puzzle to like play with.
Yeah, like everything, not just intellectual work, but physical work. Like all human labor goes to zero. And there are like there's a bull case and the bear case. The bull case, in my opinion, is the best thing that can happen out of this is we all end up with a bunch of robot slaves. Slavery is a very sensitive topic in most of the world, but there have been some insane things that have only been accomplished because of slavery. The Roman Empire, the Romans famously took slaves. The whole building of like all the roads, the aqueducts, all the things that we see have been built with slaves. Pyramids, the Great Wall of China. America, right? There's a legacy of working on the backs of other people, which has been like terrible, but at the same time, it's accomplished like insane things. So what happens like tomorrow if you wake up and you have like 50 robot slaves at your disposal? Well, how is that world going to be different then? And there's so many things that will change. Like one of the things, for example, is that maybe there's the rebirth of artisans, where I can have my robot slave build me a house that doesn't look like all the other houses in the cul-de-sac, and it has a statue of me on the roof, because like, why not? Right? Like everything's gonna be, you can have like insane customization. And by the way, there's like, what is it?
Matei Sphinx.
Matei Sphinx coming into my property. Why not? Right? The only reason why we don't have this kind of stuff now is because labor is very expensive, and no one knows how to do stonemasonry anymore. And so, what does that world look like? What kind of investments would you want to be part of to capture that? A lot of it is around robotics and the technologies behind robots. Like one of the more controversial views, in my opinion, right now, that doesn't make any sense, is that the backlash against electric vehicles because of the backlash against the environmental work. To me, electric vehicles are not about the environment. It's actually defense spending, where what are electric cars but robots on mobile robots? Everyone's talking about like the data center infrastructure, but that's like, it's real estate. It's stuck in the ground. And you can do a lot of things when you have access to empty space in the middle of the desert. It's a very different technology when like I need that thing to be in a robot that moves around. Everything from like the energy, the batteries, all the way to the chips. Like investing in companies that are redesigning memory chips that have compute on them that are much more energy efficient and faster.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't make sense to do this in a data center because there you have like, you can just spin up another GPU. But if you're in a robot that's out in the field, you're going to need this. And by the way, we have a lot of like robots deployed in all sorts of fields right now, ranging from cars all the way to drones in war zones that require this kind of technology. And then the bear case of what I think can go wrong with all this is that it could lead to the end of democracy. If you think about why we have democracy in the first place, it's not because some like benevolent king was like, oh yeah, I'm enlightened and I want to bring like Plato's ideal of the philosopher kings that have the right to express their opinions in society. The reason why we've gotten democracy, if you're very cynical about it, is because human beings, individuals, became valuable to the state because you can tax their wages, and their wages became like, it's a huge part of our, like over half of the GDP is now wages, and you needed bodies to fight in your armies. So we are valuable to governments. What happens in a world where you are no longer valuable to your government because we don't have wages anymore? And I've been talking to politicians who are thinking about taxing AI agents because they realize there's going to be a decline in the wages that can be taxed. 50% of tax revenue, federal tax revenue, comes from taxing wages. 30% comes from payroll. That's also essentially tied to wages. Only 9% comes from corporate taxes. So like the entire government is funded by human beings. If you flip that model around, it's from human beings being a cash source to government, to us costing the government money because they need to provide us with universal basic income or whatever else, we're no longer valuable to them. And we're also, the government doesn't need us to fight in wars because we have drones to do the fighting for us. So I think a concrete example of this, like we have a very abusive relationship with the IRS. Nobody likes to pay taxes. The IRS like gives us fines if we misbehave. If we're really naughty, they take us to jail. Nobody likes that. And yet that is still a sign. I fear the world where the IRS will start neglecting me, where the IRS no longer cares about me as an individual. Like when it wants to put me in jail for being naughty, like that means it loves me. It's some weird mess up. I still matter. But if you go back to that guy, we're no longer a source of revenue. And this is, again, it's not like science fiction. A lot of stuff is that we're talking about tariffs. Like, what are tariffs? It's a way to get money not from individuals, but from companies. And there's obviously a ton of like whatever backlash around that. And at first, this is going to be celebrated. But, oh, great. I don't want to pay taxes. I'm going to get Anthropic's agents to pay all the taxes. And the country's going to be great because my income tax is going to go down. But that leads to a place where human beings are no longer valuable. And that is the thing that I'm scared of.
Matei, you are interesting. I like the way your mind thinks. It's good. It's good. You're an interesting character. I like it.
This is part of my,
I like it because it's the systematic way you're looking at these things from both sides. You're looking at where the technology's at. You're looking at what best and worst. And you got a lot of the things going that somebody's going to work with sense too, or anything like that. Who do you want like thinking through these things?
It's starting with some of these like sci-fi end of the world kind of scenarios, and then working backwards to say, okay, maybe we won't get quite there. Maybe it's not going to be, full robot automation, but like, I think it's still a useful exercise because most people, when we ask them what's the future going to look like, they're just, talking about from the economic perspective or this or that. It's like, no, this is like military perspective, a government perspective.
That's what I mean. It's layers deeper. It's above the surface. I like it. So last thing I'm going to do here, Matei, system 2, I want you to look into the camera. How do people follow up? How do they connect if they want to connect with you and your team?
So I'm on LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn. Our website is ssTM2, 2.com. And otherwise, if you wanna get a hold of us, you'll find a way. But we like to be a little bit under the radar.
Fantastic. For everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and connect. Speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow. And Matei, been a pleasure, man.
Thank you so much, man.